Welcome, one and all, back to the Viper's Nest. I am recording this on Wednesday the 15th. It is very likely that this video won't be up until Thursday the 16th. And if you're watching this on Thursday the 16th, guess what? It's my birthday! Yay! And if you somehow this does actually make it up on Wednesday the 15th, well, tomorrow's my birthday! Yeah! Yeah, good stuff. 34 years old. Anyway, so in light of the fact that I am sort of kind of quasi-celebrating my birthday today, I figured I would talk about one of my favorite real-world historical figures whose birthday happens to be the day after my birthday. I was just going to talk about that, but I also figured you guys might want some context as to all this stuff I'm going to be saying. So this is also consider this a primer / refresher on why and how I became so obsessed with the Warring States era of Japan. I know I talked a little bit about it in my first episode of Neo 2, and if you didn't watch that, I don't blame you. And also, those videos, I'm still slowly recording those. It's just a problem of those videos' file sizes plus my shitty internet makes it damn near impossible to upload those in a reasonable time frame or with any kind of reliability because my internet drops out, which is why I still haven't managed to upload the final episode of my Star Wars Squadrons playthrough. It's a whole process. Unless it's videos like these or my Sunless Skies episodes, I'm really just going to have to throw all of those on a hard drive and go somewhere with a more decent internet connection and upload them from there. It's a matter of finding a time and a place to do so. Anyway, so why and how did I get obsessed with the Warring States era of Japan? For that, we have to travel all the way back in time to the year 2006. And we're going to visit a little video game called Samurai Warriors 2. So, way back in 2006, we used to do these things called LAN parties, where a bunch of friends would grab their TVs and their game consoles, and they would go to some kind of central location, plug all of those consoles into a router, and play multiplayer games without actually, having to connect to the internet proper. God, I wish we could still do those things. That was so much fucking fun, and it was so much easier than the online crap we have to put up with today. If I want to play Stardew Valley with my wife, I shouldn't have to go through the entire internet when we're literally sitting in the same fucking house, less than 5 feet from each other. I should be able to LAN that video game. Alright, rant over, my bad. Anyway, so, we had in the Soldotna area close to where I live, we used to have this place called Hawks Games, and it was a video game store / gathering place where you could go and you could essentially rent video game consoles and throw big old fucking LAN parties. And it was a lot of fun. Sorry, one second. I gotta respond to something here real quick. Excuse me. Sorry. God damn it, come on. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, anyway. My bad. Sorry, I had to answer an email real quick. Anyway, so, we used to do these things called LAN parties, and we did these LAN parties at a place called Hawks Games. So, around the time that, sorry, I got distracted by the stupid email. Anyway, so, back to this whole LAN party thing at this place called Hawks Games. A bunch of my friends went over there one weekend, rented a bunch of Xbox 360s, and they were playing Gears of War, the original OG Gears of War together. And honestly, I wasn't too interested because they were doing competitive PvP, which, I'm still not a competitive gamer outside of, fighting games like Street Fighter, Tekken, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Soul Calibur, the literal genre of fighting games. outside of those, I'm really not much of a competitive player. I prefer more like, co-op experiences. So going head to head against all my friends in a game I'd never really played before, I didn't want to do it. Like, the only other games I really still get competitive over are StarCraft and Sins of a Solar Empire. That's really about it. So, I played the requisite like couple of games, got my fill of Gears of War, made everyone else happy that I played, and then I bowed out and went and found something else to play, which is where I encountered Samurai Warriors 2. So I put it in, played 20 minutes of it, and I instantaneously fell in love with Samurai Warriors 2. I actually ended up purchasing it out of that game shop that very same day as I left. I mean, it had like everything that a 16-year-old boy could possibly want in a video game. Like, it had badass dudes, badass hot chicks, samurais, and ninjas, which I knew were cool at the time, even though I had no real other contact with Japanese culture outside of like anime and karate, and neither of those at the time had really delved into the Warring States era of Japan, so I didn't know squat about it. And it had like easy button mashy gameplay that was super easy to understand. You could pick it up easily, and it made you feel like a total fucking badass playing this game. It was an amazing, amazing game for the time. I played the absolute hell out of that disc. So anyway, I take back what I said. I knew one incredibly stupid factoid about this game, and I learned it from watching Inuyasha. So, Inuyasha, despite the fact that it takes place back then, it doesn't really go much into like the real world history of the time period they were in, except for this one random episode where Kagome and Inuyasha meet this guy named Nobunaga, and Kagome instantly asks for this guy's autograph, and then gets disappointed when the guy signs it Owari Nobunaga instead of, it's Omari, not Owari. Owari is where real life Nobunaga is actually from. Fun fact. So he signed it Omari Nobunaga instead of Oda Nobunaga, and Kagome got all disappointed and shit. So anyway, back to playing Samurai Warriors 2, I did end up recognizing Nobunaga Oda's name, even though they were doing the Americanization of it, where it's, first, like, given name first, family name last, whereas in Japanese it's flipped. It's family name first, given name last, so normally it would be Oda Nobunaga, not Nobunaga Oda. Anyway, not the point. So, I played the hell out of this game. I unlocked all the characters. I got most of their, like, Tier 4 legendary weapons. I played through all the different story modes. I played through the what-if stories. God, that game was good. That was an amazing game. Fast forward a little bit further into the future, where I start taking world history class in high school. So, like, I'm flipping through the history book, like, looking at stuff, and I get to the little segment they had on Warring States era Japan. And shame on the American education system at this point for condensing all the stuff that happened in that particular period of history into, like, 2 short paragraphs. It basically boiled down to Nobunaga did some shit, he started conquering the land, he died. Then Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi Hideyoshi started fighting, Tokugawa eventually won, we get the Tokugawa shogunate. End of story. It's like, so I'm flipping through this, and I see those names. I see Oda Nobunaga, Tokugawa Ieyasu, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and I'm looking at like, wait a minute, I know these names. These are names from my video game. Is my video game real? Obviously, it's not. It's a Samurai Warriors game. They get the bare bones facts right, but it's also a very over-the-top dramatic retelling of what actually happened using real characters from history. It's not the point. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, and I got legitimately mad because, like, I started putting together that Samurai Warriors 2, while being, overblown and overdramatic about it, was telling actual, like, the story of actual real events. And there was so much more happening in Warring States era Japan than what my stupid-ass world history book gave me 2 teeny tiny little measly fucking paragraphs about. Still mad about it to this day. But it prompted me to do something very out of character for, an American teenager at the time. I went to the library and actually started reading books and found out that a lot of the stuff that happened in Samurai Warriors 2, in some form or another, did actually happen in real-world history. And that's what led me to, researching the whole fucking period. That's why I was going to try and become a history teacher, specifically dealing with Sengoku era Japan. I didn't because time and money are unfortunate things we have to deal with. But that video game prompted me to learn a whole hell of a lot about the Warring States era of Japan and all of the people that were involved in it. That's why Nobunaga is probably my favorite historical figure, just because, honestly, he's fascinating. There are so many different versions of Nobunaga presented in so many different versions of fiction, and even in real life, a lot of people can't agree on exactly, what kind of person Nobunaga was, and the mystery of that man is fucking fascinating to me, and I love it. That's not who we're talking about today. So, excuse my ramble, this is what it was all leading up to. So, the guy we're talking about today is possibly the biggest badass to come out of the Warring States era of Japan, in my opinion. And that guy is this guy, Tadakatsu Honda. So, this artwork is of him in his Samurai Warriors 5 incarnation, which is both a prequel and a reboot to the actual Samurai Warriors series as a whole. So, the whole thing about Samurai Warriors 5 is that a lot of the characters are much, much younger. It's essentially like all of their origin stories, rather than how it is in the other series where, Nobunaga's already established, Honda's already, an old man, whatever. But this is the best, coolest artwork that I managed to find in my, 5-minute search before I started recording this video. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think I actually planned this crap out? Pfft. No, I usually wake up and proceed through my day and be like, oh, look, I actually have a little bit of time to myself. I should actually talk about something today and make a video. So, who was Honda Tadakatsu? So, Honda Tadakatsu was born March 17th, the day after my birthday, 1548, and died December 3rd, 1610. So, Honda was a samurai who mainly served under Ieyasu Tokugawa, which is the guy who eventually established the Tokugawa shogunate and pretty much came out the winner of the Warring States area Japan. Warring States area. Jesus Christ. Pardon me, I need to hydrate. My mouth is fucking on the fritz. Served under Ieyasu Tokugawa, who was the eventual victor of the Warring States era of Japan. So, Honda is, like I said, possibly the biggest badass to come out of Warring States era Japan. He was a peerless warrior. He was incredibly tough. He was... I don't know if you can hear that, but my son is not happy that I put him down for a nap. Anyway, yeah. Peerless warrior, very, very loyal. Pretty much a symbol of fear throughout the Warring States era Japan. So, how did he go about getting this? Well, some of this is going to be down to, I think, what you would call apocryphal or hearsay. Let me fact check that word real sick. Apocryphal. Of doubtful authenticity, although widely circulated as being true. You know what? That fits. So, some of this is hearsay from my own research. So, not confirmed. Take some of it with a grain of salt. I'll be doing my best to separate the hearsay stuff from the actual stuff that we know. And some of it's going to be, actual historical, stuff we know that happened because people actually managed to put record of it down. So, starting off with some of the hearsay stuff that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to, translate old school measurements into new school measurements, especially for someone who's shitty at math like me, but there have been some reports that Honda Tadakatsu was anywhere between, 5'11" to 6'4", in height, which, that's pretty big, even nowadays, but back in the 1500s Japan, that would make Tadakatsu, a fucking giant of a man. And we do know that he was also incredibly tough and very skilled at battle. So he actually became known at some point as quite literally the warrior who surpassed death. And the reason for that is this. Of the 57 battles that we know Honda Tadakatsu participated in, could be more because, like I said, it was wartime and record keeping was spotty, that he was never once wounded in any meaningful way. Another hearsay thing that I came across in my research back in the day was that in his later years, Honda actually lamented the fact that he didn't have any honorable scars to carry with him into the afterlife because, again, no one was ever really able to wound the guy. So we also know that he's like what you would call a pretty colorful figure. And his armor and weapons definitely show this. So his armor, which has been depicted in many different fictions from being black, like black and red, to the blue and gold that you see here, always tending toward a darker color scheme, and you can't really see it on this picture, but he did wear a chain, or I don't know what you would call those, like a rosary? I'm going to call it a rosary. He wore a rosary of Buddhist prayer beads wrapped around the torso of his armor. And also, as you can see from the pictures, he's got some deer horns on his head. Pardon me, some stag antlers. So the legend around this one was that during a crossing, I think, of a certain river, that Honda was able to conceal his presence by essentially hiding amongst a herd of deer to escape from enemy forces. And afterwards, he put ornamental stag antlers on his, well, in this picture it's a headband, but on his helmet in real life he wore a pair of very, ostentatious stag antlers to honor the, essentially the life debt that he, essentially owed that herd of deer for getting him out of trouble. So, like I said, he participated in over 57 battles that we know of, was not injured in really any of them, but one of the coolest stories about Honda was, where is it? I need to fact check myself again, because sometimes I get the names of all these Japanese battles mixed up in my head, because I'm still not very good at Japanese. Okay, it wasn't really a battle, pardon me, but after Nobunaga fell at Honnoji Temple, and Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi Hideyoshi started butting heads for rulership of the land, they eventually went to war. So during a retreat, where the Tokugawa were the ones retreating, they had to cross the Shonai River. Now, Tadakatsu Honda rode essentially rear guard in this formation to make sure that he slowed the enemy down as much as possible, made sure that they didn't catch up to, his lord and kill him. So, Tadakatsu picked about, I don't remember the exact numbers, but however many people he took when he confronted the Toyotomi forces, the Toyotomi outnumbered Tadakatsu Honda and his boys about anywhere, I think it was 50 to 1, 60 to 1, something like that. But Tadakatsu showed absolutely no fucking fear in the face of this vastly numerically superior force. And the leader of the opposing army, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, showed up, saw this guy standing his ground with not even a fucking ounce of fear in this guy, stopped, looked at him and said probably something along the lines of just damn, the balls on this guy. So, before anyone attacked, before any shots were fired, any blood was spilled, out of respect for Tadakatsu Honda's loyalty and bravery, Toyotomi was essentially said, you know what? No harm comes to that guy or his men. And then he actually, turned around and left. Or, I can't remember if he, just retreated or he just picked a different route that took him around and away from Tadakatsu Honda and his boys. But yeah, just the fact that Honda stood up to Hideyoshi, and Hideyoshi was like, yeah, no, this guy is literally way too friggin' cool to ever, like, injure. Like, he's a fucking national treasure. Like, even Nobunaga Oda, back when he was still alive. Okay, so, preface real quick. Nobunaga was, like, fucking notorious for never, like, praising any of his underlings. And the reason for this is up for debate. Could be Nobunaga was just a dick, which is, like, usually one school of thought. The other school of thought on that one was that he didn't feel the need to praise them because his faith in them was reward enough. Essentially, this school of thought says that Oda Nobunaga expected the best of his people and, like, had 100% certainty. Like, he knew that while he expected the best, his people could deliver. And that's why he never felt the need to praise them, because in his mind, having that amount of faith in your underlings is praise enough. You didn't have to say nothing on that point. Anyway, whoops, sorry about that. So, Oda Nobunaga, the man notorious for never fucking praising his underlings, actually said in a very short sentence that Honda Tadakatsu, in his opinion, was like the samurai among samurai. It's like even Nobunaga thought this guy was just the fucking best. He was just that badass. Which, that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. So we got the guy, kick-ass deer antlers, the one that Toyotomi said no harm comes to this man. Oda Nobunaga says this guy is just the best thing ever. What else can we say about him? Well, we should talk about his weapon, which you can see in the picture right there. Kind of. Pardon me, it's cut off. So that is the Samurai Warriors 5 version of what is known as the Tonbo Kiri. So the Tonbo Kiri, obviously, is Tadakatsu Honda's weapon of choice, and it is a spear known as the Dragonfly Cutter. And it is a spear so famous that it is known as one of the three great spears of Japan. So why is it called the Dragonfly Cutter? Well, there's two legends about this. Each one is just as unlikely as the other one. So here's the two reasons why people say it's called the Dragonfly Cutter. Reason the first, Tadakatsu Honda was so incredibly skilled with this spear that he managed to slice a dragonfly out of the air. Not impossible, sure, but have you ever seen a dragonfly? Those things are fucking fast, man. The other reason it's called the Dragonfly Cutter is supposedly because the blade was so incredibly sharp that a dragonfly landed on it, and just the force of the dragonfly touching down on the spear caused the dragonfly to be cut in two. Both of those sound absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, this is Tadakatsu Honda we're talking about here. Honestly, I'd believe either one at this point, just because it's Tadakatsu Honda. So, that is the historical version of Tadakatsu Honda. Served under Toyotomi Hideyoshi, was like a fucking national treasure of Japan, universally loved by pretty damn much everybody, whether they were fighting with or against Tadakatsu Honda. So, what was Honda like in the video games? The ones that brought me over into this rabbit hole of Warring States era Japan. Well, he lives up to his legend, I can tell you that much. So, Honda is... If you've never played a Warriors game, like Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, Dynasty Warriors Gundam, really just any Warriors series, you should. They're just stupid fun. If you have played a Dynasty Warriors game, or any Warriors game really, Tadakatsu Honda is essentially the Lu Bu of the Samurai Warriors game. Now, what do I mean by that? So, there's always going to be that one character that when they hit the battlefield, everybody else just instantaneously shits their pants. Like, this is the character that definitely on your first playthrough, and probably on your later ones, you will not go near this character because they will completely wreck your shit. They're the character that shows up on the battlefield and instantly, like, if they're against you, your entire game plan, your battle plan completely changes just to stay away from this fucking character. That's essentially what a Lu Bu / a Tadakatsu Honda does. They show up on the field essentially to be like a lockdown, like, okay, this character is in this area, which means you don't go to that fucking area. I made the mistake the first time around I encountered Tadakatsu Honda. They were like, he shows up on the battlefield. I get a notification. Tadakatsu Honda has entered the battlefield. And everyone else is like, oh, stay away from that guy. And me, my stupid 16-year-old self, was like, why? It's just another named officer. I've killed plenty of named officers at this point. I'll go deal with this guy right now. So I show up to Tadakatsu Honda, and he takes me out in 2 hits. Just done. Mission failed. I lost. You don't go near these characters. That's the kind of characters that they use people like Tadakatsu Honda and Lu Bu for in the context of Warriors games. And even then, in later playthroughs, when you actually have like leveled characters and stuff, it's still generally a bad idea to, at least with Tadakatsu Honda, to go near him. And here's why. So, alright, I'm going to try to explain Warriors gameplay to you real quick. Okay, so you have light attacks, which is usually square, if you're playing on a PlayStation, which nowadays I do, and triangle, which are your charge attacks. So essentially, when you combo, you will go like square, triangle, square, square, triangle, square, 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 triangle. Essentially, X amount of squares in a combo before you finish it off with a triangle, a charge attack. That's how you combo in these games. So, at least back in Samurai Warriors 2, in some of the earlier editions, not so much in Samurai Warriors 5, where they kind of downgraded Honda a little bit. Not the point, I'm talking about Samurai Warriors 2 here. So, on Honda's charge attacks, a lot of them, he gains what's known in video games as super armor, which means even if you hit him while he's in the middle of a swing, he won't flinch, and that attack will keep going. So essentially what that means is, even if you have a leveled up character, a lot of those characters don't have super armor. So you could be trying to go at Honda and combo him, but he will just ignore your combo and proceed to combo you because he has super armor. Plus, the fact that, especially in Warriors games, the Tombo Kiri gives Honda an absolutely massive reach. So there's a very good chance that even if you're high enough level to take on Honda, you won't be able to get close enough to combo him, and even if you do, he will just combo you through your combo. That's how fucking overpowered people like Honda are in Dynasty Warriors games. It's silly as shit. But eventually, you unlock Honda to play as, and that's when like some of the best fucking fun in the game begins, because even Honda, like a playable Honda starting at level 1, his stats are so fucking ludicrous that they don't even matter. You just steamroll the entire goddamn game, and it feels so freaking good to do that. I'm not gonna lie, that's some of my favorite experiences in Samurai Warriors 2 was after I unlocked Honda. Like, possibly second only to when I unlocked Magoichi Saika, just because somehow his matchlock rifle can shoot with the rate of fire of like a belt-fed machine gun. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, but it's a Warriors game. It's not supposed to make sense. But yeah, just being able to play as a badass like Honda once you unlock him is so fucking hype. Like, still to this day, one of the hypest moments I've ever had in a video game was it when the first time I fired up, I think it was either Warriors Orochi 2 or 3, and that's the series where they essentially took Dynasty Warriors, which is Three Kingdoms era China, and Samurai Warriors, which is Warring States era Japan, and just smashed them together. But literally in the opening cinematic, you get to see Honda, you know, badass Honda, and his Chinese counterpart, Lu Bu, which you can essentially take everything I said about Honda in Samurai Warriors and apply it to Lu Bu in Dynasty Warriors. Same basic principle. You get to see these two absolute fucking titans dueling with their spears in the opening cinematic of Warriors Orochi, while on, like, the bows of two opposing ships that have, like, smashed into each other in a storm. I lost my fucking mind. I did. Like, I will admit that I didn't know near as much about Dynasty Warriors and the Three Kingdoms Japan as I did about Warring State. Did I just say Three Kingdoms Japan? Fuck, I need to slow down a little bit. Three Kingdoms China, I didn't know near as much about that as I knew about Warring States era Japan. but I did know who Lu Bu was, because he's kind of fucking important to the Warriors series. Do not pursue Lu Bu. Someone will get that reference. Anyway, so I knew that Lu Bu was essentially the Honda of the Dynasty Warriors games. Just that guy you never go near. And then you see these two like fucking butting heads on two different ships in the middle of a storm. It just... my head fucking exploded. It was so goddamn cool. Oh, yeah, good times. I'm probably actually going to go play some Samurai Warriors 5 when I'm done fucking recording this video. But, yeah, that really about covers it. I don't have much left to say on Tadakatsu Honda, except that either 2 or 1 days from now, I know you've been dead a long time, Honda, but hey, happy birthday, man. You deserve all the praise. Anyway, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you very much for listening to this. I hope you learned something, if not about me, then about the national treasure that was Tadakatsu Honda. I'll probably do more videos like this talking about Warring States era Japan because, like I said, I don't really know when I'm next going to get the opportunity to upload my Neo 2 playthrough. I talk a lot about Japanese history in that because that game, it takes place in Japanese history. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, so keep an eye out for those, I suppose. It's one of my favorite subjects. Anyway, thank you for listening. A like and a subscribe would be appreciated. Please leave a comment. Leave a comment if you ever tried to pursue Lu Bu or Tadakatsu Honda. Again, someone will get those references. I will see you next episode. And as always, have yourself a wonderful day.